He held the alien princess as she died, and her family gasped when his touch made her shiver and heal. The sky over the Zyran palace burned with the colors of two suns, casting long shadows across the crystalline spires and silver walkways. Commander Elias Kane stood at the edge of the landing platform, his boots clicking against the polished metal as he surveyed the alien city. Ships glided silently through the air, their designs sleek and unlike anything humans had ever built. He had been to many worlds, but the Zyran homeworld felt alive, almost breathing with a quiet intelligence. He adjusted the strap of his satchel, feeling the weight of his mission. Humans had been sent to negotiate peace with the Zyrans after recent skirmishes over the outer colonies. It was a delicate task. One wrong move could ignite a war. Elias had faced danger before, but something about this place felt different. The air shimmered faintly, as if carrying whispers that humans could not hear. A group of Zyran guards approached, their movements precise and fluid. Their faces were partially masked by smooth helmets, but their eyes were sharp and wary. One of them stepped forward, lowering his hand in a gesture of cautious welcome. "Commander Kane, your presence is noted. The princess requests to see you." Every surface reflected light in ways that made it seem like the walls themselves were alive. At the heart of the palace, he found her. Princess Liara lay in a grand chamber, bathed in golden sunlight streaming from the tall windows. She was beautiful even in repose, with skin that glowed faintly and hair that fell in soft waves around her shoulders. But something was terribly wrong. She clutched her side, her breathing shallow and quick. Elias froze. He had been trained to remain calm in emergencies, but seeing her like this, so fragile and in pain, stirred something deeper inside him. "What happened?" he asked, his voice steady despite the panic rising in his chest. The Zyran healer bowed slightly. "An assassin struck her during the ceremony. Our technology could not stop the attack in time. She is critically wounded." She looked at him with a mixture of pain and fear. "Humans," she whispered, barely audible. Her voice was melodic, tinged with a language he didn't fully understand, yet he felt the meaning. She was pleading, hoping. Elias placed his hands gently over the wound on her side. The Zyran healers stepped back, watching with tense suspicion. Nothing happened at first. Her breathing remained shallow, her skin pale. The room seemed to hold its breath along with him. He closed his eyes, letting instinct guide him. Humans had survived countless disasters on Earth, evolved through fire, ice, and disease. Perhaps some of that resilience was more than survival, it was adaptability, a stubborn life force. He pressed his hands a little firmer, willing life into her, and for a moment he felt her body shiver beneath his touch. The shiver was slight, almost imperceptible, but the Zyran royal family gasped. They had never seen anything like this. Some stepped back, fear flashing in their eyes. Others stared in awe. A few whispered among themselves, words that Elias could not understand but whose tone carried disbelief. Liara's eyes widened and a faint warmth spread across her face. Her breathing steadied, though she was still weak. The room was silent except for the sound of her pulse, slowly returning to life. The lead healer stepped forward, his expression a mix of confusion and respect. This is impossible. Humans cannot heal like this. You have no technology here, no medicine capable of such a thing." Elias leaned closer. "It's okay, you're safe now, I've got you. I don't know why humans have this, but I do know one thing, we don't give up easily. How can a human do what our healers could not?" Elias supported her, feeling the warmth of her skin against his hands. "Easy," he murmured. "Take it slow." One of them stepped forward cautiously. "Perhaps it is empathy. Humans possess a form of life force manipulation unknown to us. It is not technology, not science, but instinct and will. Incredible." The room seemed charged with an energy that went beyond words, a mix of fear, hope, and fascination. The queen approached and placed a hand on her daughter's shoulder. "You must remain calm, Liara. This human, he has done what none of us could." Her fingers closed around his, and he felt the tiniest pulse of energy, a connection that was more than physical. Outside the palace, the twin suns dipped lower, casting the city in a warm, golden glow. The events of the day were far from over. Assassins still lurked, political tensions still simmered, and the royal family had much to understand about this human who had done the impossible. Elias knew that this moment was only the beginning. Humans had been underestimated on countless worlds, dismissed as fragile and short-lived. But here, on the Zyran homeworld, he had shown that humanity's greatest power was not technology, weapons, or fleets. It was life itself, carried in the instincts, compassion, and resilience that no alien could predict. As night began to fall over the palace, Elias remained at Liara's side. He was not sure what the future held, but he knew one thing. As long as humans lived, they would continue to surprise, adapt, and endure even among the stars. And somewhere deep in the corridors of the palace, whispers spread through the ranks of Zyran guards and courtiers alike. This human, this fragile creature, had done the impossible. The first steps of a new alliance had begun, born not of treaties or force, but of courage, instinct, and the unyielding heartbeat of humanity. The palace was unusually quiet after the chaos of the day. Guards patrolled the corridors with extra vigilance, their weapons ready but their eyes often drifting toward the princess's chamber. Word of the impossible event had spread quickly. A human had touched the princess, and she had lived. Many whispered that it was a miracle, others feared it was something unnatural. Inside her chamber, Liara lay resting, wrapped in soft linens, her breathing steady. Elias sat beside her, keeping a silent watch. Every so often, she would stir or shift slightly, and he would adjust his hands gently to comfort her. He did not fully understand what had happened, only that her life had responded to his touch in ways science and technology could not explain. Liara's eyes fluttered open, and she glanced around the room. "You're still here," she whispered, her voice weak but curious. "I'm not leaving," Elias said. "I promised I'd keep you safe. We fight for life, and we fight for each other." "Because I couldn't stand by and watch someone die when I could help," he said. "That's what we do, that's who we are." The queen's face was pale and the king's jaw was tight. "How is this possible?" the queen demanded. "No healer, no machine, nothing has ever done this before." "We cannot explain it." He had seen similar things on Earth, injured humans who survived impossible situations, but never in combination with this kind of instinctual healing. Liara sat up slightly, testing her strength. Pain shot through her side and she winced. Elias immediately supported her. "Take it slow. You're stronger than you think, but don't push too hard." Why do you seem to know how to do this? No one on my planet could save me like this." In the silence of the room, she sensed something extraordinary about this human, something beyond his physical strength or intelligence. It was his courage, his patience, and the way he refused to leave her side when others had. Hours passed, and slowly Liara's strength began to return. She could lift her hand, though it trembled. The royal healers watched carefully, taking notes, whispering to each other. One of them approached cautiously. "Princess, your condition is improving beyond expectations. The human's touch, it is unlike anything we have seen. Perhaps it is a gift of his species." "It's just life. Humans are messy, fragile, and stubborn, but we keep going, that's all." Others were in awe, marveling at the sheer audacity of Elias' actions. The next day, the princess's chamber became a quiet center of observation. Guards remained at the door, healers watched from the corners, and the royal family peeked in from time to time. Each day, Liara gained a little more strength, and each day, the disbelief among her people grew. Humans, they realized, were more than simple creatures. They were resilient, adaptable, and capable of acts no one could anticipate. Elias noticed small changes in her. She began to speak more clearly, though her voice remained soft. She asked questions about his home, about the human world, about life beyond the stars. He answered patiently, sharing glimpses of Earth, of its oceans and forests, of struggles and triumphs. She listened intently, absorbing every word. One evening, as the twin suns set and bathed the room in soft gold, Liara turned to him. "I feel stronger, but I am still weak. Will it last?" And humans, we heal in ways that aren't always obvious. We adapt, we survive, and sometimes we help others do the same. You'll be fine. In the shadows, members of the court whispered of danger, of power, of the implications of human presence. Some feared that humans could influence more than just life. They could change the balance of power in ways the Zyrans had never imagined. Meanwhile, Elias observed her quietly. He did not care about court politics or whispers of fear. His focus was simple: keep her alive, help her recover, and ensure that she understood that humans, though underestimated, could do extraordinary things when driven by instinct and care. The following day, Liara managed to sit up in bed, supported by Elias. Her wounds were mostly healed, leaving only faint marks. She flexed her fingers, tested her arms, and finally looked at him with something like determination in her eyes. "You've shown me humans are stronger than I thought," she said softly. "Not in body, but in spirit. You fight for life. You make it last. And sometimes, that's enough to change everything." He knew humans had survived far worse than assassins, political intrigue, or alien distrust. They had endured extinction, war, and catastrophe, and they had always found a way forward. His focus was clear: protect the princess, ensure her life, and show that human strength came in forms far beyond the expectations of any alien species. As the sun set, bathing the palace in shades of purple and gold, Liara rested against him once more. She had survived, and in her survival a new understanding had been forged. Humans were more than fragile creatures. They were life-bearers, unpredictable and remarkable, capable of reshaping destinies with simple acts of care and courage. And in that quiet moment, Elias felt the weight of a larger journey ahead. Liara was safe for now, but the world outside the palace remained dangerous. There would be enemies, challenges, and battles yet to come. But one truth was clear: humanity's place among the stars was no longer to be underestimated. For the first time, the Zyran princess, the humans, and perhaps even the galaxy, would come to understand that a single touch, driven by instinct and compassion, could alter the course of life itself. The palace corridors were alive with whispers and cautious glances. Humans had never been welcomed here in such an intimate way, and yet Elias Kane moved as if he belonged. Guards still watched him closely, but the fear had begun to shift into curiosity, and for some into awe. Princess Liara sat in the garden terrace, the alien plants swaying gently under the twin suns. Her wound had healed, yet the memory of pain lingered in her eyes. She watched Elias approach, each step firm and unhurried, his presence a calm force among the tension that surrounded her. "You have changed everything here," she said quietly. "Even the healers, they whisper about you, they can't believe what you did. You seem fragile, yet you carry strength in ways no one expects." Others saw him as a threat, a living proof that humans could shift the balance of power. That evening a council meeting was convened. The queen, her expression grave, spoke first. "The princess is recovering, that much is clear, but this human, he is unlike anything we have encountered. His abilities, if they can be called that, defy our understanding. We must proceed with caution. It is instinct, compassion, and biological resilience. It is the power to sustain life, not to destroy it." And yet in his presence, a simple truth was undeniable. Humans survived, humans endured, and humans could change the course of events in ways no one predicted. Outside the council chamber, Liara struggled to walk. Her strength was returning, though slowly. Elias supported her, his hand steady on her arm. "You're doing well," he said. "Keep moving, but don't push too hard." Humans were still a novelty here, a species no one could predict. The story of Elias saving the princess had spread among palace staff, guards, and lesser nobles. Some were inspired, seeing hope and courage in the human. Others were fearful, convinced that such power in human hands could tip the scales of politics and war. Then came the first real test. A covert strike team, loyal to a faction seeking to destabilize the royal family, attempted to infiltrate the palace under the cover of darkness. Their goal was simple: eliminate Liara before she could regain full strength and secure the monarchy. Elias sensed something was wrong before alarms even sounded. Humans had a way of noticing danger instinctively, a combination of senses honed over millennia of survival. He moved swiftly, alerting the guards and positioning himself near the princess's chamber. The intruders were skilled, using stealth technology and weapons unknown to humans. But Elias anticipated their movements, directing the guards in ways that were unconventional but effective. The Zyrans were powerful, but they had always relied on precision, rules, and expectation. Elias introduced unpredictability, human ingenuity, and it changed everything. Liara, though still recovering, insisted on helping. "I cannot just hide while others fight," she said. Elias shook his head. "Not yet, you stay here, I'll handle this." The intruders were caught off guard by the humans' unconventional tactics. Guards fought bravely, but it was Elias who made the difference. He moved with a combination of speed, instinct, and creativity, using the environment to his advantage in ways the Zyrans had never considered. When the last intruder was captured, the palace fell silent. Guards and nobles alike stared at Elias with a mixture of shock and admiration. He had not only protected the princess, but had done so with strategy that no Zyran had anticipated. Liara approached him, still weak but determined. "You saved everyone," she said softly, "and you did it without any weapons we recognize. How?" "We survive by adapting, by doing what others don't expect. That's how we've lasted this long." The queen looked at Elias, a mixture of gratitude and caution in her eyes. "You have proven yourself today," she said. "But I must ask, what do you want? Why do you put yourself at risk for my daughter?" "Then we are in your debt. But know this, humans are still unknown to us. Trust must be earned even after deeds such as yours." She spent hours speaking with Elias, learning about humans and understanding their ways. In return, she taught him about Zyran culture, their history, and their values. The connection between them grew stronger, built not just on survival, but on mutual respect and understanding. Yet beyond the palace walls, danger still loomed. The faction that had attempted the strike was not finished. They whispered of humans as threats, unpredictable and dangerous. They plotted, believing that if humans could heal and think differently, they could also undermine or control the Zyran monarchy. Elias was aware of the growing tension, but he did not fear it. Humans had survived far greater challenges than alien intrigue. What mattered was protecting the princess and showing that strength was not always about power, but about resilience, courage, and the will to act. One afternoon, Liara approached him in the garden again. "Elias, I have been thinking," she said. "Your people, they are underestimated everywhere, not just here. They survive against odds we cannot imagine. Humans have faced extinction, war, disease, and yet we endure. We learn, adapt, and continue. We endure when others falter, and we fight for life no matter what. It is in all humans, in our spirit, in our willingness to act when it matters." And in that quiet realization, a new respect was born. It was tentative, cautious, but undeniable. The human presence had shifted something fundamental in the palace, a recognition that strength came in many forms and that one act of courage could change the course of life itself. For Elias, the journey was far from over. Challenges awaited, not just from rival factions but from the universe beyond this planet. But he knew one truth with certainty. Humanity's resilience, compassion, and ingenuity would continue to surprise, endure, and protect, even in the face of impossible odds. And for Princess Liara, the human at her side was no longer just a protector. He was a symbol of hope, proof that life could be preserved, that courage could change destiny, and that even a single human could leave an indelible mark on a civilization far greater and older than their own. The palace was never meant to feel so tense. The corridors that had once carried the laughter of nobles and the soft footsteps of servants now echoed with whispers of plotting and suspicion. Elias Kane moved through them with calm precision, alert to every movement, every glance that might signal danger. He had learned that in a place where everyone underestimated humans, being prepared for anything was the only way to survive. Princess Liara had regained most of her strength. Her wounds were gone, and her movements were no longer cautious but deliberate. She walked through the palace gardens with Elias, each step a declaration of her resilience. Yet she remained aware that the world beyond the walls was still dangerous. The faction that had tried to strike her once would not give up easily. Elias observed her carefully. "You're strong," he said, "but strength isn't just in the body. It's in knowing when to act and when to wait. Never underestimate patience. We act when it matters most. That is how we survive." Their whispers turned into plans, subtle manipulations, and alliances formed in secret. One evening, Liara and Elias were walking near the palace's highest tower when a sudden alarm sounded. The palace shuddered under an explosion outside the walls. Guards shouted, and the sound of energy weapons crackled through the air. Elias immediately took action. "Stay here," he ordered, though Liara shook her head. "I'm coming," she said firmly. "I cannot hide while they attack my home." They were armed with technology designed to bypass Zyran defenses, capable of breaking through barriers and neutralizing conventional forces. Yet Elias did not panic. He scanned the battlefield quickly, noting positions, entrances, and patterns in their movement. The Zyran guards were brave but predictable. They followed rules of engagement that their attackers anticipated. Elias knew that unpredictability was humanity's greatest weapon. Moving swiftly, he directed the guards in ways they had never considered, forcing the attackers into confusion. Liara, unable to watch from the sidelines, followed at a distance. She had learned from Elias, observing how he assessed danger and used every advantage. Even though she was not at full strength, her courage inspired the guards. She moved with purpose, alert and ready to act if needed. The battle raged for hours. Energy beams lit the corridors and alarms blared throughout the palace. Intruders were skilled, but human ingenuity turned the tide. Elias used the environment, angled walls, reflective surfaces, and even the natural light from the twin suns to disorient the attackers. Every move was calculated but flexible, adapting as situations changed. One of the intruders reached the chamber where Liara had been resting just days before. A guard shouted a warning, and Elias moved faster than anyone expected. He intercepted the attacker using a combination of speed, strength, and strategy that left the Zyran guard watching in awe. The intruder fell, incapacitated but unharmed, and the path to the princess was secured. Liara approached Elias, concern in her eyes. This is unlike anything I've seen. How can one human do all this? It's about seeing possibilities that others miss. Humans survive because we think differently, act differently, and sometimes we take risks others will not. Perhaps this is why they endure where others falter. You have done what no one thought possible. You have saved my daughter and perhaps even the entire palace. How can we repay you? Not in weapons or armor, but in spirit. Humans, they endure, they adapt, they protect. I have never seen anything like it. Some marveled at human resilience, inspired by courage and ingenuity that could turn the tide of battle. Others feared it, seeing humans as unpredictable and potentially dangerous. The perception of humans had shifted fundamentally. They were no longer simply fragile creatures. They were active forces capable of shaping events in ways the Zyrans had never imagined. In the aftermath, Liara and Elias walked through the palace gardens once more. The air was calm, the alien plants swaying gently in the evening light. She turned to him, determination in her gaze. I have learned much from you. Humans survive when all seems lost. They fight when others flee, and they protect when no one else will. We face challenges, adapt, and keep moving forward. It is what has allowed us to endure as a species. It is why we survive where others fail. But remember, humans do not follow rules unless they serve a purpose. We act when necessary, not because tradition demands it. That is why we are unexpected and why we endure. Humans were no longer just visitors. They were participants, their courage and resilience reshaping the way the Zyrans viewed the universe. For Elias, the battle had been a demonstration, not just of skill, but of the enduring power of humanity. They survived not because they were the strongest, but because they were clever, adaptable, and driven by a will that refused to yield. Liara, now stronger and more aware of the world around her, walked beside him with newfound confidence. You have changed my view of humans forever, she said softly. I will never forget this. You have shown me a strength that cannot be measured in power or technology. It is something far deeper. It is what makes us capable of the impossible. And as night fell over the palace, casting long shadows through the halls, a quiet truth settled over those who had witnessed it. Humanity was unpredictable, unstoppable in ways no one had considered, and capable of changing the fate of entire worlds with nothing more than instinct, intelligence, and the courage to act. The first seeds of alliance had been planted. Humans and Zyrans, once strangers, were now connected by trust, respect, and the undeniable truth that courage and life itself could overcome even the most formidable challenges. Elias understood that the journey was far from over. There would be more threats, more challenges, and more moments when the unexpected nature of humanity would be put to the test. But he also knew that humans, in their stubborn, enduring way, would rise to meet them. And for Princess Liara, the human beside her had become more than a protector. He was a symbol of resilience, hope, and a new future where life, courage, and the human spirit could shine even in the darkest hours. The night was quiet, but the galaxy beyond was vast and unpredictable. Elias knew that one thing was certain. Humans would endure, humans would adapt, and humans would continue to surprise, heal, and protect in ways that no alien could fully predict. The palace was quiet at first light, but tension lingered like a shadow. The failed attacks of the rival faction had not ended their scheming. They had retreated only to plan more dangerous moves, hoping to undermine the monarchy and remove the human who had proven too unpredictable. Elias Kane stood on the palace terrace, his eyes scanning the horizon. The twin suns rose slowly, casting long golden beams over the crystal spires. He could feel the energy of the planet, subtle but alive, flowing through the palace grounds. It was a world of beauty and danger, and he had learned that survival required more than courage. It required awareness, intuition, and adaptability. Princess Liara approached him, her steps steady, her presence commanding even in simple attire. She had fully recovered now, stronger than anyone had anticipated. Her gaze met Elias's, and for a moment no words were needed. They shared an understanding born from the trials they had endured together. The palace is calm, she said softly, but the threat is not gone. They will strike again, and this time they may be more cunning. That is our advantage. The rival faction had chosen the morning to attack again, this time with a larger force, more coordinated and deadly. The palace trembled under the weight of their assault, energy blasts lighting up the courtyard and corridors. Elias moved instantly, guiding the guards and palace staff to defend key points. His presence inspired confidence. Humans' unpredictability combined with their courage gave the defenders an edge. While the Zyran guards were disciplined, they relied on patterns. Elias introduced chaos, using unconventional strategies, flanking movements, and improvised barriers that the attackers could not anticipate. Liara did not wait on the sidelines. Though her strength was new, she joined the defense, commanding squads of palace guards and directing evacuations. She had learned from Elias, absorbing not only his knowledge of strategy, but also his courage and quick thinking. Humans fought differently than anyone the Zyrans had faced, and now, with her guidance, the palace defenders could act in ways that the enemy did not expect. The battle raged through the palace halls, energy beams bouncing off reflective surfaces, shattering windows and filling the air with sparks. The attackers were skilled, but their expectations had been wrong. They assumed the humans would be slow, unprepared, and fragile. Elias shattered that assumption at every turn, turning his instinct, agility, and determination into tools of survival. He intercepted an attacker trying to breach the inner chamber where Liara had commanded her squad. With a quick move, he disarmed the intruder and immobilized him without lethal force. "You see," Elias called to the nearby guards, "use your brains, think ahead, fight smart. Humanity shows us the way, and we will not fail." At one critical moment, an explosive device threatened to destroy part of the palace, and the attackers aimed it near Liara's position. Elias acted without hesitation, diving forward and pushing her out of harm's way. The blast shook the building, but he emerged, scorched and bruised, yet alive. The palace erupted in astonished cheers. He had risked everything to protect her. Liara rushed to him, her hands on his shoulders. You saved me again," she said, voice trembling with relief and awe. "How do you keep surviving?" Their numbers dwindled as the palace defenders, inspired by human ingenuity and courage, outmaneuvered them at every turn. By the time the sun reached its zenith, the palace was secure. The rival faction had been defeated, not destroyed, but humbled, forced to retreat and reconsider their strategy. The Zyran royal family gathered in the main hall, looking at Elias with a mixture of awe, respect, and relief. The queen approached, her expression softening as she laid a hand on his shoulder. "You have done what no one thought possible. You have protected my daughter, defended this palace, and shown us the strength of your people. How can we ever repay you?" "No repayment is needed. Humans survive by helping others when we can. That is our gift and our responsibility. Humanity has taught us this, and for that we are grateful." He realized that the perception of humans had changed forever. They were no longer fragile outsiders. They were life-givers, protectors, and unpredictable forces capable of shaping outcomes in ways no one could foresee. Liara placed her hand on his arm. "You have done more than save me," she said softly. "You have shown my people that life, courage, and determination are stronger than fear, stronger than weapons, stronger than any plot against us. You have made humans a part of our story." That instinct, that determination, was what defined his species, and now it had been seen, understood, and respected by an entire civilization. Outside the palace, the twin suns began to set, painting the city in shades of gold and violet. The world felt alive with possibility. The rival faction had been forced into retreat, their plans thwarted, and the Zyran people had witnessed the undeniable value of human resilience. Liara and Elias walked together through the gardens, the alien plants swaying gently in the evening light. She looked at him with gratitude and something deeper, a recognition of the bond formed through shared danger and trust. "You have changed everything here," she said. "Not just for me, but for my people. They will never underestimate humans again. You have made me believe that courage, determination, and compassion are more powerful than any weapon. And sometimes one human is enough to change the course of events, to save life, and to inspire others." In the council chambers, the queen addressed her people. "We have learned a great lesson. Strength is not always measured by power, weapons, or technology. True strength comes from courage, ingenuity, and the will to act for life. And in this, humans have shown us the way." The royal family and the court looked at him with respect that transcended mere gratitude. He had not only saved the princess and the palace, but had reshaped their understanding of what it meant to survive, to protect, and to endure. Elias felt a quiet satisfaction. The battle was won, the threat subdued, and the alliance between humans and Xyrans strengthened. The galaxy beyond remained unpredictable, full of challenges and unknown dangers, but humanity had proven itself once again. "You have made me believe in the impossible," Liara whispered. "You and your people, you are remarkable. We fight for life, and sometimes that is enough to change everything." And in that moment, as the twin suns disappeared beyond the horizon, the story of humanity had been written into the history of a distant civilization. Proof that courage, adaptability, and the will to protect life could transcend worlds. For Elias Kane, the journey had not ended, but a truth remained clear. Humans endure, humans adapt, and humans will continue to surprise, inspire, and protect wherever life calls. And that alone was enough to leave a mark on the universe, one touch at a time.